brought in our own, elite human capital. It's a really fascinating chess move.
Yeah, which is, in a functional society, how legacy and transition of power is supposed to work. It just so happens that the managerial regime, which is basically synonymous with the boomer generation, um, didn't want to give up power. And part of that is probably, I mean, same as in any, in the Chinese communists, for example, is if you know that revolutions work, you're never going to let anybody else ever have a revolution. Once you're in power, you're never going to risk being out of power. To your point, where a lot of those fears are put to rest. And I think a lot of these people are not necessarily true believers. And I mean, there's certainly some wackos who are very ideologically committed and think of themselves as the resistance. But I would argue the bulk of them, what they really want is what they've always wanted, which is, basically a safe, easy life. If you're offering them, hey, you're not going to be desperate. You're not going to have nothing left to lose. In fact, we'll give you something that you can lose. Here's, a pension or retirement package, much kind of like a way like a divorce settlement works. It's okay, if you go away quietly, you're going to get something. If you contest it, you're probably going to get nothing. You get that combination of both the carrot and the stick to achieve the outcome. And yeah, going back to that, the leverage buyout, in order to be able to make good on these promises of, funding this is creating a lot more. It's a huge expansion of money and credit, basically creating almost like another asset class in the process. In order for that to not blow up the economy, because we're already massively over leveraged, and create massive inflation, there's a do or die function of that the people that we're hiring, like the Doge team, they really have to be hyper competent in order for this to not, exacerbate an already fragile system. They really actually have to do a good job, which I think is very in line with how Elon views business in general. I mean, I think he's a true believer about things of, I want to get to Mars. That means I have to have competent people who build rockets that are affordable. He's kind of gamed out what that chain of events needs to be. But how do you align the capital structure that favors competency as opposed to just favoring loyalty? So in a sense, it kind of mirrors, Spandrel and that whole biological Leninism construct, as well as, how if loyalty is easier to pay off than competency, how do you bias the system to be in favor of competency? And this kind of do or die moment seems to be how that's being brought about.
Yeah, it's an interesting point.